The show's going to start in just a second, folks. This is BZ. It is Thursday night. It is October the 16th, the year of our Lord, 2025. Before I start the show, kind of in reflection of Charlie Kirk's birthday last Tuesday, I started thinking a little bit more about what it was that kind of brought me over to the conservative side. Because up until a certain point, I didn't really believe, abortion didn't factor for me very much as a conservative. Then I found this post from Charlie Kirk. And then that reminded me about, for my viewpoint, some of the most important, I'm guessing it's 4 or 5 minutes, that I'd ever seen on YouTube. That's what convinced me that what Charlie Kirk says here is important.
What you are fighting against, because when you see abortion, your life will be changed.
My mom went through 5 abortions before she decided to keep me.
That we allow the massacre of 1.5 million babies a year under the guise of woman reproductive health.
The woman is the patient, the fetus is the problem.
You know, we're going to discard them. Why? Oh, they're smaller. They're not humans. No, that's a baby made in the image of God, deserving of protection.
If you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith.
Is it a human being in the womb? Yes or no? Yes. Well, then why don't you get the human being rights? Well, that's what I'm trying to just ask the question. Why does that human not get rights and you do? Well, my question, why do you get rights and the baby doesn't? There is no excuse for murder, period. What is the first thing human rights? Life. Every human being has the right to life, period, hard stop. During an abortion, they actually inject poison as the baby squirms. Have you ever watched an abortion? It is one of the... Yeah, actually I have. And I encourage every human being to watch one.
And so I watched one, and I heard about it.
Based on false premises, one after another after another. It's time to stop wasting time, get on with meaningful work, and stop picking on women and trying to take their choice away. I yield back the balance of my time.
The time of the gentleman has expired. We welcome our distinguished witnesses today. Do you and each of you swear that the testimony that you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And I'll now begin by introducing today's witnesses. The first witness is Dr. Anthony Levatino. Dr. Levatino is a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist. Over the course of his career, Dr. Levatino has practiced obstetrics and gynecology in both private and university settings, including as an associate professor of OBGYN at the Albany Medical College. And Dr. Levatino, we'll begin with you. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. I only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to get right to it. Second trimester D&E abortions performed between roughly 14 and 24 weeks of gestation. Your patient today is 17 years old. She's 22 weeks pregnant. Her baby is the length of your hand plus a couple of inches. And she's been feeling her baby kick for the last several weeks, but she's asleep on an operating room table. You walk into that operating room scrubbed and gowned, and after removing laminaria, you introduce a suction catheter into the uterus. This is a 14 French suction catheter. If she were 12 weeks pregnant or less, basically the width of your hand or smaller, you could basically do the entire procedure with this. But babies this big don't fit through catheters this size. After suctioning the amniotic fluid out from around the baby, you introduce an instrument called a Sofer clamp. It's about 13 inches long. It's made of stainless steel. The business end of this clamp is about 2.5 inches long and 1/2 inch wide. There are rows of sharp teeth. This is a grasping instrument. When it gets a hold of something, it does not let go. A D&E procedure is a blind abortion. So picture yourself introducing this and grabbing anything you can blindly and pull, and I do mean hard, and out pops a leg about that big, which you put down on the table next to you. Reach in again, pull out an arm about the same length, which you put down on the table next to you. and use this instrument again and again to tear out the spine, the intestines, the heart, and lungs. Head in the baby that size is about the size of a large plum. Can't see it, but you pretty good idea you've got it if you've got your instrument around something and your fingers are spread about as far as they go. You know you did it right if you crush down on the instrument and white material runs out of the cervix. That was the baby's brains. Then you could pull out skull pieces. And you have a day like I had a lot of times. Sometimes a little face comes back and stares back at you. Congratulations. You just successfully performed a second trimester D&E abortion. You just affirmed her right to choose.
One more question.
Any response to that? Leftists? Democrats? Anyone at all? Yeah, I'm mostly hearing silence. A lot to go over tonight. Hate to start on a downer, but that's why.
You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, bummer to start, but it gets better. Don't worry. I am BZ, and welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting from North Idaho in an actual free state. I am this guy. I am your conservative Sherpa, guiding you through the maelstrom of Demorat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Now, what you're going to hear for roughly the next 2 hours consists of my opinion and my opinion only. Tonight, the main theme is Democrats basically uncork on Democrats. And so we'll be consulting the carousel of amusing GERP, the Chicago death toll. Stand by for news, happy stories, and a whole lot of other buttery political goodness. I'm doing the job the American media maggots won't. I'm fundamentally changing America one leftist diaper at a time. We don't water our drinks right here, just like we don't water our conversations. We are still serving stiff drinks in the saloon, along with facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, context, clarity, tradition, and common sense. So, politics, crime, culture, religion, economics, race, sex, science, law, we talk about it all right here at the saloon, where the speech is free but the booze is not. I am streaming live right now on a whole bunch of different places. And if you look right here, you can see I'm on X, a couple of different places on X. I'm streaming live on Rumble. I'm streaming live on YouTube. We'll talk about YouTube in just a second. Soon we'll be on Spreaker live. Spreaker is going to go back live. Facebook, Twitch, and KLRN live tonight. KLRN live tonight. So I'm extremely happy to be here. As per normal, I've got a metric ton of stuff for you. But I want to begin, let's start with the comments. Let's go up to the top of the comments and introduce some of the people and the acts you've known for all these years. UBG, Unpleasant Blind Guy, is here. He's relatively pleasant. Canada Heavy Hall is here. Mike Pasqua is here. Mission Ready Men is here. Stop right there. Okay, if you're not listening to Mission Ready Men, to Earl Jackson every Tuesday and Thursday morning on the SHR Media YouTube channel, and I'm mentioning that very specifically right now, then he starts at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, and A tip of the old fedora to the tiara right here, to Earl Jackson, who kicked our ever-loving asses all over the place today. His morning show got 256 views on YouTube. So if I had music or if I had a choir or anything like that, they would be playing right now, because that is absolutely incredible and stellar. And congratulations to Earl Jackson from SHR's very own Mission Ready Men. Incredible. And also, let's go down here. Let's see. I mentioned Canada Heavy Haul, Big E, and Ricky Robinson. Ricky Robinson, he love you long time, is in chat. And let's see, who else do we have? Anybody else? Mike Pasqua, any sipping whiskey? Oh, Mike, it's funny you should mention that, good sir, because my mug has changed for the night because of the theme. So yes, I have clear potato. Well, if I tilt it anymore, it's going to come out. It's going to pour out. But because it's a themed show, here's my mug for tonight's show, Demorats Uncork on Demorats. And I hope you all at home are drinking responsibly. I hope you're all having a great time. I hope soon, despite that introduction, I hope that soon I'm going to be, well, especially with what's coming next, OMG. I hope that what's coming is guaranteed to put an upwards crease on your pie hole. Because what we're going to be talking tonight with regard to Demorats is essentially a total scrotal failure in which hilarity may ensue and alcohol, well, definitely for me tonight, will be involved. So thank you, one and all, for everyone being here. And Mission Ready Men, again, kudos. 256 hits this morning on YouTube for us, for SHR. That's pretty damned amazing. That's absolutely fabuloso. Let me see if now for the next, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 videos that we're going to be starting out with tonight. And you can most definitely put them up with regard to the carousel of amusing GURP, because each one of these, I was sent these videos surreptitiously, quite covertly, so that you won't find them on any other show. The first one is a continuation of training. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is Antifa, so that you can see that they're training to fight us on, let's see, what is it, October 18th, which is Saturday, I believe, mostly in D.C. No King's Day, and this is how they're training. Oh, BZ, would you turn the sound on? Because the sound is good. Oh. You can see how diligent they are in terms of their training. I had to pay $500 for that video. Here's another one. Now, this is Tim Walz. Did I get that right? The governor of Michigan? Not Michigan. Minnesota. This is Governor Tim, and he himself is training. Take it away, Tim. Oh, yeah. Tim, great job. I don't know. I think he's the hardest working man in politics right now. I don't know of anybody that trains that hard. Now, we saw, by the way, this photograph that on Time Magazine that Donald Trump didn't like. Now, what you missed, however, is the video of what happened directly following. That's the video that you never see. But I happen to have it right here. And that's one of the main reasons that you guys tune into me. And another covert. And remember the interview given by Barack Hussein Obama. And this is 30 seconds that, for whatever reason, you'll be able to understand when you see this. 30 seconds that never made it to the American media maggots. Now, Barack, if you would, take it away, please.
It kind of surprised me, to be honest. I mean, I knew she had a penis and all, but I guess I never really thought about how big Michelle's penis could be. You know, we just kissed and shit like that. But one day we were having a few drinks and we started dancing salsa and
see, all the time telling you alcohol may be involved.
Holy shit. Thought you had a snake in her trousers.
See, and that's the part that you didn't see, but that's why you come to my show. That's why you listen for the great videos that I play before we get into the meat of the matter. You've heard this before anytime, but wait, there's more.
Republicans have been appealing to audiences, especially young people like myself, online using social media. Why does Republican messaging on social media seem so much more effective than Democratic messaging, and what can we do about it?
Wait for it.
Well, that's a great question. I think the Republicans are effective. They have learned a lot about social media. And by the way, it doesn't hurt that their friends own all of the major...
Right. They have friends that own all the media, is what Bernie Sanders was about to say. You know how correct that is. Then, finally, this may be the best video of them all. Before I get into where am I going to be going after this? We'll be going into this in just a moment. Oh, before I get to this video, I almost forgot. Let me set up the video and put it up right here. This is just a reminder, a promotional reminder that next Friday night will be the KLRN Players producing The Day the Earth Stood Still at KLRN Radio on X. And so you need to be here. BZ is going to be here. He's going to be involved. Shoot, don't look at me. Don't think that I'm reaching for something over here. Because I used to have a producer, and now I have to put something like this up and not talk directly into the mic so that I can cue something else. Anyway, the reason I'm saying this is because BZ is going to be in this play next Friday night on KLRN in honor of Halloween, the day the earth stood still, with the KLRN Players on the 24th at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, and BZ is going to be in that. I hear that he is going to be playing. I am going to be playing the hubcap. I'm not sure. Maybe both the hubcaps or the lug nuts on the 1941 taxi that drives Gort around in D.C. And again, if I had applause, there'd be nothing but applause at this point right now. Let's go back to the comments before I locky low on this show. Yeah, we got to figure out how to keep it going. And also, this is very interesting. We've gone up. We now have 648 subscribers. You too can subscribe to the SHR Media YouTube channel. We would love to have you do that. Also, don't forget, if you go to the SHR Media channel, please click on the bell on the SHR Media channel on YouTube. Click on the bell, because what that does is that will provide you with notifications when our shows are upcoming. That is a great thing. Let us all continue, if we could, then with chat. No Sean or Phantom. Well, Phantom is here. Is Phantom? Yes, there is Phantom and Mike and Mission Ready Men and Unleashed Jeremy Hansen. First he was leashed. He got into the show and now he is completely 100% unleashed. When you hear this, oh my gosh, now we know what's going on.
I think AOC and Bernie Sanders are having an affair. Like, people know this. Everyone knows. After their little events, they put on a little salsa on their trailer and it moves around quite a bit.
Zoran Mamdani just said he thinks you guys are having an affair. I mean, what's your response to that?
No, let me jump in on this one. This is what we're
talking about.
So what if we like to put on a little salsa and get naked in our trailer? This is a big booty Latina. I'm not going to pass on a big booty Latina. What if Trump deports her tomorrow and all I have left is my ugly ass wife with no booty? I need my big booty Latina.
And you can see that's why the applause is so deserving. You only catch these things when you listen to my show. Here's something else that I think we're going to go into, as I indicated and foreshadowed. We have this coming, which is this.
The bloviating Zeppelins, HeyJackass.com Chicago death toll update. Courtesy of every leftist running that city. From the mayor, police chief, and every aldercrap in the 50 wards.
Thank you, Mr. Announcer. By the way, this is the BZ Chicago death toll update for today. We are at October the 16th, the year of our Lord 2025. HeyJackass.com, HeyJackass.com. Illustrating Chicago values, Chicago, the city of big shoulders and big riots and big stupid people, including their big racist black Mayor Brandon Johnson. What a guy. What a fabulous guy. October to date, shot and killed 16, shot and wounded 62. Total shot in the city of homicides. Freudian. City of Chicago, 78. Total homicides, 19. Week in progress, October the 12th to October the 18th. Shot and killed 3, shot and wounded 15. Total shot 18. Total homicides 3. Year to date. Shot and killed 302. Shot and wounded 1,313. Total shot 1,615. Total homicides 361. So a person in Chicago is shot every 4 hours and 17 seconds. And a person in Chicago is killed every 19 hours and 9 seconds.
The bloviating Zeppelins, HeyJackass.com Chicago death toll update. Courtesy of every leftist running that city. From the mayor, police chief, and every aldercrap in the 50 wards.
Because who wouldn't want an update like that? I know. Since we happen to be on Chicago, on the issue of Chicago, anyone remember this? I had to dip into the BZ archives for this. This was back in 2021. This is how kind and loving Chicago is, and how loving and kind white female insane leftists can be, though they, in terms of leftists, have left this planet. Now, that's sad to say, because a doctoral candidate back in June of 2021 in Chicago. Now, this was under Mayor Lori Lightfoot, she of the Admiral Akbar variety, doctoral candidate who sought to prove justice system was racist against blacks, was stabbed to death by a black male in Chicago from that loving city of big shoulders. Here's another story that happens to do with Chicago. Were you aware, ladies and gents, the Broadview ice fence, which is in Illinois, Broadview, Illinois, was removed after a judge's orders. Barriers instead were put in place. So, you know, ice certainly doesn't deserve any protection. And an Illinois judge said that, well, that's true. In my opinion, ICE agents, they deserve absolutely no protection whatsoever. Now, add in Brandon Johnson and mix and stir to taste. Chicago finds 39 ways to get $1.65 billion more to spend. So Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson's task force outlined 39 ways to raise up to $1.65 billion to close Chicago's budget deficit. Well, they're saying they're not taxes. These aren't taxes. But if you look, they're taxes. These are taxes. So Chicago residents, not only are you getting no service, not only is Chicago PD essentially not protecting you, that the feds have to come in to protect you. You've said essentially that you like that protection, but Brandon Johnson doesn't mind if he stacks as many young black male bodies as possible in his city to prove and enable his philosophy, whatever the hell that may be. But wait, also the teachers need to weigh in. Chicago teachers say immigration enforcement near schools is scaring the kiddies and disrupting the classes. So that means that there should be no ICE enforcement. What the hell? Why would we even worry about law enforcement if they scare the kiddies? Also, this is interesting. JB Jabba the Hutt Pritzker, is finding out the internet is forever as a former police chief busts him. You got busted for your video. Can you believe this guy? This is from Homeland Security. Governor Pritzker threatening to prosecute law enforcement for enforcing the law and arresting murderers, pedophiles, rapists, drug traffickers, and gang members is disgusting. And he says that here. Don't have time to go into it in detail. If you want to see the video, and again, as I indicate at the conclusion of the show, go to the SHR Media Rumble channel, where in that, for this episode, you will find each and every show link in there. And this is just a suggestion that you might want to look at this. By the way, JB Jabba the Hutt Pritzker happens to be a what, BZ? Oh, he's a billionaire with a B. And he also made, I don't know, close to $500,000, if I'm not mistaken, recently about winnings at poker or winnings at some kind of a card game recently. Let's illustrate some. Okay, there we are. Let's go talk about some comments here. Ricky Robinson, Canada Heavy Haul. I'm parked, he says. I can pay attention. If we can last this long, if you guys can last this long, if I get through all of my stuff, I have some rather amazing indicators with regard to Canada. Mayor Mohawk, nicely. Let's go, Brandon. And I used to like how the Beverly Hillbillies, Jethro, would pronounce Freud's name, Frood. Mayor Beetlejuice, that's correct. That's an insult to Admiral Akbar. First one tonight. It is. That's a Star Wars reference. If you know Star Wars, then you'd get that one. Pritzker ate Jabba the Hutt. Pretty much he did. Since I'm on the subject of Illinois, if you can't last that long, there's pills for that. Oh, are they blue? Do they come? Do you chew them? Do they come in a packet? Get the reference. See what I did there? In any event, it's a trap. Just thought I'd tell you that Illinois Representative Brad Holbrook just revealed, I think it's a 2-minute video. I'm only going to start about the first 30 seconds or so, but I'm going to tell you up front. Illinois Representative Brad Holbrook revealed over $1 billion of taxpayer money has been funneled from the state of Illinois to NGOs funding programs like parent mentoring initiatives, immigrant support networks, LGBTQ advocacy projects. This isn't charity. What it is political laundering, taxpayer money from Illini's being rerouted to bankroll Democrat-aligned activist groups. Chicago, Illinois, it's basically corruption central for most everyone.
107th District, Shelbyville. Today, we're turning our attention to a staggering amount of taxpayer money, over $1 billion, that's being funneled into political connected non-government organizations or NGOs. This wasn't uncovered, or this wasn't uncovered by government watchdogs, but concerned Illinoisans and Republican legislators that our grassroots effort we call DOGE, or the Department of Government Efficiency.
So DOGE did have a purpose. I sure would like to have seen more of that. Unfortunately, I think Musk had to bow out. It had a sunset date. I'm not sure, but isn't DOGE, are they still continuing? You know, there was a Doge clock. Shoot, if I'd been thinking, I would have put the Doge clock up. And instead of making people wait for the last portion of the show, we're going to go into it right now. Demorats are uncorking on Demorats. We've seen it. I love it. You love it. We want some more of it. And so this is where we're going to begin. And that's here. Dozens. This is a great story. This is from Axios. BZ, why do you go to Axios? Because sometimes Axios will write and craft a headline that I completely agree with. This is one of those times. Scoop. Dozens of Demorat candidates won't commit to backing Jeffries. The corollary to that is Jeffries has not come out and said specifically, to my knowledge, that he is 100% backing Mamdani. This is interesting. Dozens of Demorats running for U.S. House seats across the country told Axios they either wouldn't vote for House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries as party leader or declined to commit about having anything to do with doing so. Demorats are in a little bit of a kerfuffle, and sometimes people make kerfuffle-like speech errors. That's when AOC, now you saw the intimate video indicating some kind of, I don't know, linkage of some sort with Bernie Sanders. Even though you heard it from their mouths, I can't say for sure that's true. But AOC leaves the door open for a Schumer primary, says leaders need to talk more about having air that's drinkable. And who doesn't need or want air that's drinkable? I sure as hell do. You know, they're still talking about climate change. They're still talking about, oh, the Republicans are completely fouling the environment. Really, go down to Los Angeles like I did on certain trips in the 70s as I went to Reseda, for example, and go and get close or attempt to get close or attempt to get close enough to see your way on I-5 towards the San Gabriel Mountains. I went down there probably twice in the early 70s. And in the process of doing that, there were times from I-5 where you could not see the San Gabriel Mountains from I-5 itself. The Demorats are having a messaging problem. And when they say, let's see, I don't remember if I have the video. I may. But essentially, they're saying Schumer's in trouble and Hakeem Jeffries may be in trouble. And there's another individual who may be in trouble. And this is with regard to the theme tonight. Demorats are uncorking on Demorats. So essentially, she was on a produced show recently. She refused to rule out challenging and primarying Senator Chuck Schumer for his New York Senate seat. And this was during a CNN, I think it was a CNN town hall meeting that was going on. Let's see if I have the video. I may have already set that up. Let's look. Oh, speaking of Demorats, let's go here. Kamala, she just keeps getting smarter and wittier in the process of promoting her book.
That is a decent resume, but go ahead. Well, some people have actually said I was the most qualified candidate ever to run for president.
Okay. Now, the rest of it isn't worth going into, but in your esteemed position, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, do you believe that's true? that she was the finest presidential candidate ever. I don't believe that I will be convinced of that. This is the next best part. Now, this is from the Western Journal. C-SPAN was blitzed with calls from Democrats bashing their own party. A guy named Frank from Staten Island hit the nail on the head. The funny thing about Frank from Staten Island is they're Demorats. They're in New York. I'm in BZ. Let's take a break.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Mission log entry. I mean, let's face it, who's even counting anymore? The Lost Wanderer is officially off course, chasing rogue rocket launches, fringe science, and things that probably violate causality. If it burns fuel, bends time, or makes scientists very uncomfortable, yeah, I'm probably going to talk about it. Every other Sunday on KLRN Radio, The Lost Wanderer, because space doesn't come with a roadmap, and honestly, I wouldn't follow if it did.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? You need to check out Mission Ready Men via Earl Big E Jackson on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
I'm BZ. You're in the saloon. I am the bulbous one with such gravity and such force that some planets occasionally revolve around me. Thanks if you're listening to any of these places right here, to KLRN, to Rumble, to X, to YouTube, where we have 648 subscribers, Facebook, Twitch, Spreaker, that's coming in the not too terribly distant future. It's October the 16th, the year of our Lord 2025. We're talking about Demorats uncorking and popping off on Demorats themselves. Well, we had this article from the Western Journal. I told you about Frank, who called in to C-SPAN, and C-SPAN was essentially inundated with calls from Demorats. And Frank said, I'm a registered Demorat, but, oh, damn it, Jim, I hate my party. Well, that wasn't doing very well. That didn't translate very well. By the way, I was attending Rick Robinson's morning show on KLRN, as well as Earl Jackson's show that I'm going to mention one more time on SHR, who this morning got 256 views on YouTube and literally kicked the butt of myself and Jersey Joe and Sean Lewis. Kicked us all over the room, kicked us around the floor and out the door. Oh my God, that was a wonderful kind of thing. I think I have, if I'm not mistaken, video coming up. And as you watch this video, and I noted when I was but watching Rick Robinson's show, as I typed in chat to Rick, I said, as this guy is taking calls from CNN, watch the face on this guy. Let's put him up on stage right now. Watch his face. And then you'll see, I always go for the Paul Ekman body cues, body language, what people are saying, how they're lying, when they're lying, if they're tired, if they're just disgusted. Some people have no way whatsoever to hedge these things. They would not be very good poker players, meaning that you would really want to play poker against them. So the essential portion of this was most were saying, I think I pretty much hate my party.
Let's hear from Will in Maryland, giving an assessment of the party as well, at least the party's direction. Will, hello.
Hey, good morning. I can't claim to be any kind of an expert, but I've been a Democrat for a few years now. I used to be a Republican back when George W. Bush was president, but he basically showed me that I wasn't going to be able to stick with that party. I think the Democrats almost need to stop bashing against Trump so much and start focusing really on some of those things that Cory Booker was talking about health care and about the way the immigrants have been.
Notice the slow blink on this guy, which is one of the things I like. This guy's not far from falling asleep on the air.
Treated. And I do like also some of the things Rahm Emanuel has said, and I like his approach as well. But a lot of the Democrats, some of that is all their own fault. I think Joe Biden is at fault for the state of the party.
Thank you.
It would have been a lot different if he had had a different frame of mind and said, yes, it's time for me to step aside back maybe 2 years into his term and let the party decide on a new standard bearer. So there's a lot of the problems are self-inflicted, and they need to step back, look at themselves. And I don't even think that really continually bashing Trump is most effective.
See the guy look to his right over there? He's looking at the clock, the C-SPAN clock.
Focus on all the other issues. The tariffs are not really done intelligently. The other issues that are turning our back on good allies like Canada, Mexico. Why are we treating them so poorly with tariffs when they've been friends and neighbors and such?
BZ, let's skip ahead.
Years.
My name's Frank from Staten Island. I'm registering. My name's Frank from Staten Island.
Go back.
Your party's direction. Frank, hello.
How you doing? My name's Frank from Staten Island. I'm registered
Frank.
Democrat, but I hate my party. I haven't voted for a Democrat really in the elections in quite a while. And yes, I voted a Republican many times because I like the policies better. Democrats have had terrible policies, and now we have the rise of the so-called progressives. They're really regressives. People like the Squad and Ocasio-Cortez and now Mondami, who might become the mayor of New York City. He's a proven socialist and Marxist as well as an anti-Semite. This is just really terrible. The things that they actually believe in do not really help the people at all. They don't understand markets. I believe in capitalism. I am the type of...
Okay, let me stop right here. This is not going like this guy anticipated. C-SPAN is great. It's interesting. You can see some things on C-SPAN because most of the stuff is uncut. Let's catch up with some comments. Some people... let me go to this one. Congrats on the numbers, Earl. Yeah, they're super numbers. Fandom weighs in, says, yep. And Mission Ready Men throws it right back, saying thank you to everyone. But the Demorats are starting to eat their own, and they are uncorking on themselves. Here are some Demorats who are weighing in their own little personal way on Demorats.
This message is for you, Donald Trump. Hey, I'm so proud of you, you going hard, man. Keep going hard for the American people. We appreciate what you're doing. Everybody know they're giving you a rough time, but hey, you keep fighting for us, and we appreciate that, man. This is the first time that I ever really paid attention to what's going on in the White House, and I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. I never thought that the president actually could make stuff happen. I thought it was people around him that had to make the stuff happen, but I see the president can make stuff happen, and I see why they didn't want you to be the president, because you speak for the American people, because you show leadership. You show leadership through action. You don't bow down to nobody. You let people know why America is great. And that's how it's supposed to be.
See, this guy, however, turns out to be the black equivalent of a white guy on the Demorat Party who's about to get his arse kicked big time. And then somebody else comes and decides that they're going to weigh in too.
It's okay to leave the Democrats unless you are black. If you are Asian and you leave the Democrats, well, you're just an Asian person who left the Democrats. If you're white and you decide to leave the Democrats, well, you just are a white person who decided to leave the Democrats. But if you are black and you leave the Democrats,
dun, dun, dun,
you are considered a sellout. And let me explain why. The Democrats have always owned black people. During slavery times, they owned black people physically. Now they own black people politically, mentally. So when you say you are leaving the Democrats and you black, oh my goodness. In their mind, they are missing merchandise. Their inventory is low.
You're chattel. You're nothing but chattel. American blacks. Wait until you hear what Ketanji Brown Jackson thinks of you, American blacks, with regard to a SCOTUS case that may be devastating for all sorts of blue states and blue individuals. That's coming also.
Republicans, can we have a quick conversation? Because maybe you can bring something to my understanding, because I'm a little lost. Forgive me. I'm new over here. When in the hell did the Republicans become so understanding with logic and reason when you talk to each other? It's like,
is that not what I say at the beginning of my show every time my show is on the air?
2 + 2 has to equal 4. When did things start adding up? Because now maybe it's just because I was raised Democrat, of course, and maybe they were just telling me, hey, Republicans are just racist. They're just bigots. And that's it. And that's all you need to know. You vote blue no matter who. Now I'm over here and everyone I talk to is super nice. They're interesting. They're open-minded in a good way, not in a bad way like a Democrat where they're so open-minded their brain falls out. Start saying stuff like,
that's not bad. I like that. I may have to steal that.
Men should be in women's sports and all this crazy nonsense. It's just like, I just want to know, when did Republicans stand on business so hard? I don't know.
Let me stop him just for a moment. Like I've said, and President Trump said in any number of times that I've made this quote, Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, said, come one, come all. This tent is wide and it's open. And if you're a conservative and if you're tired of all the crap that's happened before, my flaps are open. My tent flaps are open. The tent is huge. It's massive. And we want you up to that point. Why did it take President Trump to say that when the Republicans had the opportunity to make that statement and emphasize it again and again, and they never did. And then they were never popular with a lot of the people that would come over, like that gentleman before. And now they're coming into the tent. They're opening that tent. And the other thing we're discovering is the massive irony, the schadenfreude, because of this. John Fetterman, who represents Pennsylvania, and let's see, 89 people watching live right now. Thank you ever kindly to all of those folks that are watching and watching via X and KLRN and the SHR Media YouTube channel. But why had no Republicans done that? And then what happened to John Fetterman when he became such a traitor, such a betrayal artist, that now he's said he has the temerity to question the Democrats and criticize them, and said, oh my God, if I had this, I do have it. And he said this, I follow country and then my party. Well, you know for a fact this guy is not going to be long for planet Earth. And that's absolutely true. We have some video proof of this. So John Fetterman is not necessarily in keeping with the Demorats' wonderful plan, and he spoke his mind. Damn him.
That's why shutting the government is really what the Democratic Party wants to do. And I follow country, then party, and it's the wrong thing for the country in a period of chaos. I refuse to vote to shut our government down. I absolutely would love to have... I would love to have a conversation about extending the tax credits for healthcare. Absolutely. But
And isn't that what the Demorats have been saying all along? We simply want to have a convo. We simply want to have a conversation. And the answer is no, they don't. They're not interested in that. Fetterman, as I'll illustrate here shortly, probably is going to be on his way out for Pennsylvania. Go ahead and put this up. And then he talks common sense for another minute and a half. John Fetterman.
I'm the only Democrat in my family. I grew up in a conservative part of Pennsylvania, and I grew up and I know and I love people that voted for President Trump. But they are not fascists. They're not Nazis. They're not trying to destroy the Constitution, those things. And that's part of another thing. I refuse to call people Nazis or fascists, or I would never compare anybody to Hitler and those things. And now that kinds of extreme rhetoric is going to continue. We're going to be more likely in resulting in extreme kind of outcomes and political violence and doing all these kinds of things like Charlie Kirk. For me, all I could say is like, let people grieve, give people the space. I'm not going to use that terrible thing and that passive assassination to make my argument and try to put out my views. It's like, my God, he's a father that had his neck blown out by a bullet. And now people have forgotten. President Trump was in my state, was shot in the head. And if that could you imagine where our nation would be if he was hit in the same way with Kirk? We really got to turn the temperature down. And we can agree to disagree on these kinds of things. But right now, shutting down the government, I just can't take it that. I'm the only...
He's speaking common sense. And when I was watching the show this morning on Rick Robinson, I inserted into the chat, here's what I think happened with regard to John Fetterman. People were saying after he got elected, this guy's kind of nuts. This guy's kind of off his rocker. This guy is kind of not making very much sense. There were some strange things going on in his life. His wife, some of the things that she was doing, it was all kind of most passing strange. And then John Fetterman had a stroke. He went into the hospital. He went into, if I'm not mistaken, a voluntary psychiatric commitment beforehand. So he was having any number of issues. But I think when he emerged and was able to survive the stroke, He looked at himself in the mirror and said, I recognize my mortality. I recognize that I'm a little bit more than what people have pigeonholed me into. And then he finally realized that now is not the time, after having my experience, that I'm going to pull the weight of this party and say what I think he considers to be the insane things that a lot of the folks in the Demorat Party are saying. So, unpleasant blind guy, the lady gets it. I always called rabid lefties on social media slaves. Unleash Jeremy Hansen, math is racist. The only thing I agree with Dems on, I suck at math. And good night, Mike Pasqua is going. Canada Heavy Hall says, via con Dios, and goodbye to all those folks. But that John Fetterman had the temerity to make the statement, I refuse to call people Nazis or fascists. I would never compare anybody to Hitler. That is not towing the party line in any way, shape, or fashion. And this is the result from Axios. Democrats are already planning his ouster. They're maneuvering in Pennsylvania against Senator John Fetterman in a 2028. They're going to primary him in 2028. And that was, if you remember, one of the biggest battleground states in the nation. Now, the other thing that I mentioned, anybody remember Scott Pressler? In my opinion, it was Scott Pressler who managed in a one-man show to turn Pennsylvania over to Trump. But when you are not in keeping with Gaia's great Demorat plan, you're going to find yourself on the outs. Got about 3 minutes for the top of the hour break. And the way things are rolling right now, cats and kittens, I may get possibly for maybe the second time ever through most of the things that I want to speak about tonight. 89, 90 people watching live right now. Thanks to all of you for watching live and for watching later in podcast and watching through SHR, the YouTube channel, through X, Twitch, and KLRN. Always a wonderful thing. Now, then we have this guy. I think I have enough time just to put him on. Some people have agonized over this. And I said, and continue to say, we're going to have these experiments. For example, I spoke at fair length this afternoon with Jeremy Hansen from Unleash Jeremy Hansen. Has his own great podcast, kicks my ass all over the place in terms of numbers. His voice, it's like, God looked at me and said, you're an experiment, fat boy. You're not fat now, but you're going to get fat. And this guy, Jeremy Hansen over here, that I'm going to produce a few years after you, I'm going to give him the voice. Bing! And so it was. In any event, we were saying, and we were agreeing with each other, myself and Jeremy Hansen, we got to have this experiment pretty soon. Are we going to have a civil war? Do we see any way to extricate ourselves out of this? I'm not so sure. But as Rick Robinson has said, and as I have said, and as Jeremy Hansen has said, on any number of occasions, we got to have this experiment so people can finally see and look at the illustration down your block, and it's going to be in New York City first, because I still think Mamdani is going to win. Now, listen to him. Now, I understand. If you've never heard Mamdani, I understand why people like him. He's very glib. He's a good speaker. He's fake as hell. He's a racist. He's a muzzy. I hate him. He's a liar. Takia, figure out what the hell that is. He's an anti-Semite, but he's a really convincing speaker. But he also said that New Yorkers, you should expect a tax rate at about 52% of your paychecks to help pay for all the free shit that he wants to give New Yorkers.
So a lot of individuals in this city pay more than 50% of their income in taxes. When you talk about a fair share, how much more than, what is the fair share? What's the number?
I've said that we should increase personal income
So
taxes by 2%.
is fair.
And my point is this:
Give up more than half of your income. That's
if you're making $1 million in New York City or more than that, you can afford to pay 2% more. And the reasons you can afford to do so is because that money will be used to better your quality of life as well.
Yeah.
Because when I speak to the wealthiest New Yorkers, I hear concerns about the cleanliness of the city, the quality of life in the city, questions of public safety. This money is the money that will be used to deliver on those things so that we can ensure that we have a return on investment for all of the money that we are raising and spending right here across the 5 boroughs.
But don't you agree? This guy is fairly smooth. To me, however, what that means is I think he's incredibly smarmy. He's arrogant. He's like most Demorats. It's tax and spend and tax and spend. And for those of you who just tuned in, let's tax some more and spend some more.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
In a world where leftists are running out of metal for the safety pins of their soothing red diapers, one man stands alone, attempting to fundamentally change America, one leftist diaper at a time. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, is guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat leftists and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Listen to BZ Saloon on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern on the SHR Media YouTube channel, Twitch, KLRN, Rumble, and X at BZ Saloon. It's one great late-night conservatarian talk radio show. Be there. Aloha.
Hello, friends. You have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name is Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRN Radio.
It's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Just like the Bidens, I too am moving. Only in my case, it's days and times. That's right, you can now find the Edge of Liberty Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on 11 Eastern on the SHR Media Network. Join me as we talk politics, news, alcohol, fun, not so much fun, clowns, small kittens, large kittens, dogs, amoebas, and anything else that just pops into my mind while I'm on the air. That is Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, on YouTube, X, KLRN Radio, Facebook, Twitch, and anywhere else a good podcast is found. Please check out our website, shrmedia.com. I will see you live on the air.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high-quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born.
inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence, as do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
I'm BZ. I'm back. The first hour is flitted away. Is, has, whiz, was, it has gone flitting in a flittingly fashion as it flitted away. Thanks for being here. Welcome. And I hope you enjoy the show. This particular show tonight is, and I did the main event first. I almost never do this. I usually make people wait, but I didn't do that this time. I addressed the main event up front where Demorats are uncorking on Demorats. But like I've said before, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch your enemy implode, catch fire, like the House of Schadenfreude, where you watch the bodies of your enemies languidly flowing slowly in the river, face up or down as they pass, as you're sitting on the bank watching that occur and thinking, it's a lovely day. The breezes are blowing. I'm in Hawaii. The clouds are wonderful up there. Look, that one looks like an aardvark. And, definitely most deaf from the House of Schadenfreude. Some things that I'd like to address up here that I was considering is there anything in the show that you guys would, and I'm looking at chat, of course, anything in the show that you guys would like changed? And I'm asking just because it popped into my brain works, kind of like the Zep works, WERX. What would you change in the show? Would you change the intro? Would you change the show from 2 hours to 1 hour? Make it with a greater frequency during the week? What do you like about the show? What do you dislike about the show? I'm just kind of curious about that. If you're in chat and you have any comments or thoughts about that, go ahead and weigh in on those, because this, by the way, is the point where I'm going to change gears just for a second. Because I'm not going to play the full minute news intro, because we're going to go into the news right now. Probably the biggest news so far today was the fact that Bolton was indicted by a grand jury. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 18 counts today. But he should, and other personnel should have seen this coming, because go back 5 years to 2020. There was a U.S. district judge that had some quotes back then that people have forgotten. It was U.S. District Federal Court Judge Royce Lamberth, said that John Bolton was likely and had likely published classified materials in his book, The Room Where It Happened. And this is where Bolton's head and his ego became so big that it doesn't fit through standard doorways anymore. Today, I bet it fits a little bit more. And Judge Lamberth said that the government was, even back in 2020, he said the government is likely to succeed on the merits of its lawsuit. Bolton, this is a direct quote from Judge Lamberth, Bolton may indeed have caused the country irreparable harm. And that's essentially the crux of the biscuit on the government's case. So the government's case came in like this. Ex-National Security Advisor John Bolton was indicted for improper handling of classified documents. Now, his ego got to him because these were documents that were inserted into his book. His Maryland home got raided by FBI agents back in August. Oh, lo siento, so sorry. And that search was focused on trying to find classified documents that they believed that he had possessed. Well, we're going to have to wait and see how that goes. He's going to have to get an attorney. So there were more than apparently a dozen items seized from Bolton's house in Bethesda in that search warrant from the District Court of Maryland. So among the things that were seized apparently were two iPhones, a red one with 2 camera lenses, a black one in a black case, 3 computers, a silver Dell XPS laptop with cables, a Dell Precision Tower computer model 3620, and a Dell Inspiron 2330 computer, according to the search warrant documents. 4 boxes containing what federal officials called printed daily activities, which is apparently what he provided to his publisher, were also hauled from Bolton's phone or home, according to the documents. So Jonathan Turley, I said this probably a week, maybe a week and a half ago. Jonathan Turley said, at this point in terms of James Comey's indictment, people were saying that Comey is, they had to make that indictment because the statute of limitations were about to expire. Okay, cool. I understand it. I grok that concept. But as I said, you get Comey, you get the nose into the Comey tent on something relatively simple, and it's not very complicated. USC, I think it's 18 USC 1001, if I'm remembering my US codes and statutes. And that will be the chink in the armor, and Bolton himself may also be a chink in the armor. Somebody somewhere is going to decide after an indictment that it might be better for me to roll on these things. Jeremy Hansen gave me a compliment, has the best vocabulary of any talk show on the planet. It's like poetry for the working man. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. BZ, 2 things, 90-minute format and Jake Cam. Yeah. We'll go into my poor little boy, Jake. He's not too terribly long for this world. But I did say I wanted to get because the dogs used to sleep under the studio. Jake is not here tonight. He's sleeping someplace else. He didn't feel like coming into here tonight. But I would love to have dog action cam. Okay, maybe a 90-minute format. That's good. Thank you for responding to that. I appreciate it. But Bolton, the things that I'm discovering is that, you pick up vibes from the American media maggots and from the media from across the pond. I consistently try to seek and source out media from the UK because sadly, they will frequently tell you things that the American media maggots here at home will not. And then you go through those things, you let them simmer about in your brain, set it on boil, and just sniff it, see what's going on. What do you get, Lassie? What's that smell? Is that a Demorat down the well? Is that a CIA guy about to be indicted? Is that an ex-FBI director about to be indicted? Is that a national security advisor? What do you smell there? And the overall temper of the times that I'm getting from the media right now is they're thinking, you know what, there might be more to Bolton than there is on Comey. But the cool thing about the federal government, because that's what the FBI did when I worked with them, that's what the feds do on any number of law enforcement levels, is you work and you work up. My last show, there was information indicating that Barack Hussein Obama was completely aware of what was going on. And I think that's coming, because wouldn't it be nice if we discovered that some of the roads that lead to Rome, subsequently, several roads lead to Barack Hussein Obama, which, as I've said any number of times, he's not stupid to the point where I believe he completely knew what was going on. The other thing that I find very interesting in terms of news is this story. Last Tuesday night, my center focus was on Antifa. Rose City Antifa are actually fascists. They're not anti-fascist. They are fascists. But one of the founding areas, one of the founding chapters of Antifa, because there is no such thing, was Rose City Antifa. Here's something interesting. I can't possibly feature why these people would flee the United States of America, as Mark Bray did, author of the Antifa handbook. He fled as well. And so the co-founders for Rose City Antifa were found. They were discovered after leaving the U.S. Hey, look, you're living in Sweden. They were living in Portland before. Now they're living in Sweden. And a journalist found them, a guy named Christian Peterson. So Johan Victorin has U.S. and Swedish dual citizenship and basically asked, hey, do you think Donald Trump's designation of Antifa as a domestic terrorist group made him afraid of being convicted? Because when you have a designation like that of a terrorist group, and Antifa is in fact a terrorist group, that makes it possible to prosecute people for supporting Antifa. And then it also makes it possible to backtrack the cui bono of it all. And that's what's happening right now. So the people that, all you peons in your black crap, you can go riot, but I started it. I'm not going to be hanging around because I see the writing on the wall. Might they be possibly a couple of the smart people? Here's someone that's not necessarily a smart person. Most everybody has played this. And I want to mention one thing. I didn't have the opportunity to play this last Tuesday, but Jersey Joe discovered this and put it up on SHR. Jersey Joe, wherever it was that he found this, had this up a good 2 days before the rest of the American media maggots. They were pushed kicking and screaming into playing this video from Nancy Pelosi. They would much rather have just let it expire. And again, all of these things, all the show links will be in the SHR Rumble channel under show links. Give me, like 2 or 3 hours to drink a little bit more heavily so that I can get in the right mind frame to get in and actually do drunken computer work. But all the show links will be in there, and this will be in there as well. Because I want my shows to be archives for me and for anybody else, because a lot of this stuff disappears magically, mystically. It just goes, I have no idea. Let's play the video.
Congresswoman Pelosi, are you at all concerned that the new January 6th committee will find you liable for that day? Are you at all?
Stop. Were you aware that there is going to be a new January 6th committee? The answer to that question should be, why, yes, there will be. And who will be the general focal point of this? Somebody that's about to say something.
Concerned about the new January 6th committee finding you liable for that day? Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
Hey, folks, you know BZ, right? BZ wouldn't do this. He wouldn't put this up unless he had information or articles or videos or posts in contravention of what it was that she was saying, because as you know full well, that's an abject false lie. Also notice that Nancy Pelosi is taking two gentlemen to hold her up as she dodders out gin-influenced and soaked to her waiting SUV, wherever the hell that may
American
be.
people want to know. We still have questions. Thank you.
Now, this is one of the best parts. When I first saw this video, Jersey Joe, again, thanks for the source. Watch this young journalist look at the camera.
Congresswoman Pelosi.
As far as I'm concerned, that makes it worth the price of admission to my show right there. I love that. I love that. Then, because BZ brings the information and the evidence indicating, as per normal, the American media maggots forget intentionally about things, but the internet is pretty much sort of kind of forever. And I find lots of things, even in my own personal doddering space. As I've said any number of times, I got a keyboard. I have the internet. I can find this shit. So here's Chief Stephen Sund. Now, his name should be familiar to you in terms of he's the former United States Capitol Police Chief. Following the video, which you can see over here, I'm not going to play it again, even though it was rather delicious. Don't you think? I do. Tell you what, let me give me a bell. Just because I think I'm delicious. Wait a minute. That's going places you don't want to go. Speaker Pelosi from Chief Stephen Sund, ma'am. Let me help refresh your memory. It was your sergeant at arms who repeatedly denied my multiple requests for National Guard assistance before and on January 6th. Even on January 6th, your sergeant at arms denied my urgent requests for over 70 minutes while he was running it up the chain for your approval. The Pentagon offered National Guard assistance, but I had to decline because your sergeant at arms would not grant me the legal authority as required under federal law 2 U.S.C. 1970. At your leisure, look at all the times that were involved in Chief Sund asking but being refused the assistance, the ability to ask for National Guard assistance. He wasn't granted, he wasn't granted that. It didn't happen. And so let's continue. Let's take this off and let's put up essentially the big story, because there was a big story. There was a bigger article which predated that quite some time. And it's this, originally sourced from the Washington Examiner. Ex-Capitol Police Chief slams Pelosi, says she rejected the National Guard help, any form of assistance on January 6th. So she keeps lying, and the Demorats keep buying it, and she keeps spewing all this lying, vomitous material, knowing that weak-brained or bread-brained Demorats will soak this up like SpongeBob SquarePants, like they never have before. It's a lie. It's a lie. For those of you who just tuned in, by the way, it's a lie. I got 6 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break. I think I'll be able to make my way through this. Now, let me prepare you for this. There's a SCOTUS ruling that people are anticipating being released. I'm not sure of the time frame, but I'm guessing within a week or two. People better than me can probably quantify that time frame. But it's a case called Louisiana versus Calais. SCOTUS is hearing it right now. Oral arguments were being presented. Now, video is not allowed during arguments in SCOTUS. And there's an NAACP lawyer who's arguing as part of that for Louisiana, saying that it's necessary to create race-based congressional districts because, this is a quote, white Democrats were not voting for black candidates, whether they were Democrats or not? Do you have the receipts on that? So let me first play this, and then I want to get into the argument made by Ketanji Brown Jackson, who is essentially, I think a potted ficus is smarter than her. Maybe I will potentially go so far as to postulate that even Hank Johnson, I know you're shocked, may be smarter than Ketanji Brown Jackson. Well, there is no video to go with this, but this is Janai Nelson arguing for a second majority district in Louisiana, using that buttressing argument that I just indicated. Let's listen to her. It's about 30 seconds of her attempting to make her case before SCOTUS.
That's right. And in the state of Louisiana, that analysis was conducted in the Nairn case. And it was clear that regardless of party, white Democrats were not voting for Black candidates, whether they were Democrats or not. And we know that there is such a significant chasm between how Black and white voters vote in Louisiana that there's no question that even if there is some correlation between race and party, that race is the driving factor.
Can you comment on the Solicitor General's suggestion at page 20?
Okay, no, that we don't have the audio on that, but I'm putting that up for you so that you can see the direction that this is going. And the direction is this. They're attempting to argue before SCOTUS that being a racist and setting up racist districts that's exactly what MLK Jr. would have wanted these days. Segregation. In order to solve racism, we have to be racists. But hey, it's coming from the Demorat Party, historically always the party of racists. That's true. Okay, so first, again, this is another audio cut, doesn't have any video with it at all. Okay, so first, the NAACP lawyer says Section 2 of the Voter Rights Amendment is needed because Democrats aren't voting for Blacks. And then the woman, Ketanji Brown Jackson, who, if you remember, in her interview for this lofty appointment as SCOTUS jurist, said that she could not possibly envision or describe or define a woman. So let's listen to her argument, because at that point you're thinking to yourself, this is a minute and a half. Did I just hear this argument being made by a Black female, Ketanji Brown Jackson, who somehow managed to make it to a seat in SCOTUS? Listen.
I guess I'm thinking of it, of the fact that remedial action, absent discriminatory intent, is really not a new idea in the civil rights laws.
Okay, this is as high as I can make the volume go. On your end, you might want to jack up the volume a little bit. It's a little low.
And my kind of paradigmatic example of this is something like the ADA. Congress passed the Americans with Disabilities Act against the backdrop of a world that was generally not accessible to people with disabilities. And so it was discriminatory in effect.
So about this time, you're probably thinking, wait, is she maneuvering in the direction in which I think?
Fact, because these folks were not able to access these buildings. And it didn't matter whether the person who built the building or the person who owned the building intended for them to be exclusionary. That's irrelevant. Congress said the facilities have to be made equally open to people with disabilities if readily possible. I guess I don't understand why that's not what's happening here.
Okay, that she doesn't understand, considering her prior rulings and opinions, should not be shocking.
The idea in Section 2 is that we are responding to current day manifestations of past and present decisions that disadvantage minorities and make it so that they don't have equal access to the voting system. right? They're disabled. In fact, we use the word disable in Milligan.
Okay, this is the old screed that, let me just be frank, or I could be BZ, whatever you want. Just don't call me late for dinner. Blacks, American blacks, and Demorats have been saying this for literally decades, are too stupid and ignorant to figure out how to vote, how to get ID, or where to go for votes. So you must hold their little hands and guide them through the convoluted process that is known as voting. If that isn't one of the greatest insults imaginable, I don't know what is. Let's finish this.
We say that's a way in which you see that these processes are not equally open.
So I speak leftist. Let me interpret for you. And what she has said was essentially that blacks in the Louisiana versus Calais case. See, Louisiana is saying we need to make racist districts only for blacks because blacks need their own racist districts because they're too stupid to know how to get to the polls, and we want to stack everything as much as humanly possible. Now, if that isn't one of the most insulting things imaginable, which is not shocking having come directly from the mouths of Demorats, historically being the party of massive racists themselves, she's comparing blacks to needing the ADA. In other words, blacks are sufficiently mentally, they have zero mental fecundity. They're not smart enough, so they need something similar, like the jury rigging that Louisiana is asking us to do. They need something similar from the Voting Rights Act, like the ADA, because, well, blacks are disabled. So the case basically is examining whether Louisiana's congressional map with 2 majority black districts violates the Constitution's Equal Protection Clause or the 15th Amendment. So in defending Section 2 of the VRA, which is the Voting Rights Act, KBJ, Ketanji Brown Jackson, says, we are responding to current day manifestations of past and present decisions that disadvantage minorities and make it so they don't have equal access to the voting system. Right? They're disabled. Okay, that's a direct quote, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Let me repeat that last sentence for you in case you just tuned in. So those things disadvantage minorities and make it so they don't have equal access to the voting system, right? They're disabled. Stop. Who's the they? American blacks. What are they? They're disabled. So blacks needing their own congressional districts, which is on its face racist. Ketanji Brown Jackson is all in along with the rest of the Demorats, saying that American blacks are sufficiently stupid and brain damaged that they need all the help they can possibly get. They can't do any of this without us or the Demorats. Can you possibly feature anything more incredibly insulting to that? How do you exist in a world where someone is that revoltingly stupid and revoltingly racist? Because I'm here to tell you, if SCOTUS rules against Louisiana, you're going to see race-based districts crushed. And that will have a massive influence. I mean, if you thought the SCOTUS ruling on abortion was going to garner, and did garner, a huge reaction from the Demorat and leftist base, if SCOTUS comes through with this ruling disfavoring Louisiana, I postulate you may get up to and including riots all around the lurks, the leftist urban rat cages. It's that serious. And the Demorats are going to go 210 over 190, just a hair more in blood pressure than they are right now. That's how critical this is. No, I'm not having another break. I am continuing. But this is the crux of the biscuit right here. This is a massive, massive thing. And when I was going through, you know what? I have transitioned. No, get that out of your brain. I have moved over from one segment to another. And the segment that we're going to be talking about right now is this one. So if I can have my producer cue this up pretty please.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
Here's a happy story, kids. NBC News cuts around 150 staffers as it separates from MSNBC and CNBC. The cuts, basically 7%, nearly 7% of NBC's news operations, and representing 2% of the NBCU news group workforce. Now, the people that were affected were those, there were roughly, at least 150 people whose job was to, if you look up here, 150 staffers. What were they doing? Well, NBC News, conducting that second round of layoffs, was using those people just for LGBTQRS stories and coverage. They needed 150 people to make that kind of coverage. Now, if that isn't nuts, I don't know what is. Here's another happy story. When I had to play this sufficient number of times so that when I play this for you, I don't burst out laughing. So I had to absolutely crush my brain watching this any number of times so that I didn't lose my poop and go sphincterless watching this. This is classic Trump and classic Macron. OMG. I'm going to have to embiggen this. It's almost 30 seconds of Trump being Trump. Look. Look at the white hand. Macron has a white hand. No, is he going to be letting you go? No, fuck it. I'm not. Nope. No, Macron is going, what is this bastard trying to prove? I want to go. No, you're not going. I want to go. Okay, finally you can go. That's Trump. That's Trump all over. That's, reason number 10,579.7 as to why I love the hell out of Donald John Trump, OMB, Orange Man Bad, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head. Here's another issue that I think is a great story. This is a happy story. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of the Department of War, said in a post on X, because all the journalists they're mortified, including Newsmax. They all got together. I think it was the Pentagon Press Corps, PPC, something like that. They have a little organization. And Pete Hegseth wrote, Pentagon access is a privilege. It is not a right. So here is the press credentialing for dummies. I don't know. You got to love that. Press number 1, press no longer roams free. This is press being credentialed for the Pentagon, for me to be specific. So in the Pentagon, apparently heretofore, the press went wherever the hell they wanted to. And he says, press no longer roams free. The press must wear a visible badge. What? For the press to wear a visible badge is like this for the American media maggots. This is heresy. Credentialed press no longer permitted to solicit criminal acts. Do you know what that means? I know. I speak Hegseth. And what that means is if we find that you leaked or had access to places or personnel that you should not have, and we discover you leaked, we're going to prosecute you federally. I don't think I can make it any more plain than that. And yet, the American media maggots went crazy, nuts over those horrible strictures. We can't operate under that. And then Axios, this is why it's another happy story. Axios said Pentagon confiscates badges of defense reporters. They warned you, they told you that if you didn't comply and if you didn't sign off, you were going to have your credentials removed and your access to the Pentagon removed as well. Guillotined. It's done. A dark day. Pentagon confiscates badges of defense workers. Oh, no. Nearly every Pentagon reporter from almost every major media outlet in America turned in their press badges Thursday after refusing to endorse the Defense Department's new rules that say it would make our jobs impossible to do and for us to be independent. Okay, well, it's not a right. It's a privilege to walk through the Pentagon. And you sign off on this or you don't. Here's another one. This is to me, this is a happy story. I'm weird this way. It's a happy story because this is how leftists craft these things. So this is from AmericanImmigrationCouncil.org, and they're saying that the Supreme Court's latest decision basically clears the way for racial profiling during immigration raids. To which I responded, because so many illegal invaders from all around the globe are white people from Norway or Canada or France. Canadians are dying to get into the United States. They're clamming, they're queuing up like at least 2 deep to get into the United States. White people from, like I said, Norway, Canada, France, Finland, the Netherlands, Denmark, Germany, they're all dying to get in here, you morons. And so this is their belief. The Supreme Court clears the way for racial profiling. What's the general color of the people that are illegal invaders? I just indicated, and any clear-thinking individual knows, well, it's not really white people. Oh, yes, it is. Think of all those evil white South Africans that came in, and there was an invasion of South Africans of at least, 25 of them, maybe 50. Okay, so I'm telling you, you see, BC's racist. He didn't mention the South, the white South Africans. But this is the way, and it's absolutely risible to think that this is the way that they think. And it's a happy story because they're that stupid. But occasionally they make their point. 100 people watching live right now. Thank you kindly. From UBG, what's delicious is no judge can make the Secretary of War change his mind because the maggots turned in their creds voluntarily. So it's an if-then equation. If you sign an agreement indicating that you will comply with our rules, our house, our rules, sure, you can come on in. You can come into the Pentagon. If you're not interested in compliance, then essentially you can stay the hell out. Rick Robinson says 400 on our side or so. That's from X and KLRN, which makes me think, maybe it's time to run this up the flagpole like this. You can read it. Anyway, thanks, Rick, for that and that update. Appreciate it. I seldom mention this, but this is a happy story in terms of if you're a common sense thinking individual, you already sensed this was true. You knew it. Wuhan 19 in 20 and 21 and up to and including 22 and around in there. Closing this country was one of the worst things that we ever did. It affected, in my opinion, an entire generation of kids and screwed them up. Absolutely screwed them up. But now it's discovered that data on how parts of Pfizer BioNTech Wuhan 19 vaccine spread in the bodies of mice, data were withheld from regulatory submissions to the US FDA, according to new comparisons of those submissions and similar documents sent to Japanese regulators. In other words, these people, Big Pharma, decided that they were going to hold back important data that was required that people before taking the jab should know. Let me see if I still have this up. Oh, darn it. I think I took it down. And essentially what I said last time was that the definition during this time of a vaccine changed from something that provides immunity to something that provides a modicum of protection. And that was made and that was done so that it would look as though, well, you're actually guinea pigs and you're test beds. So we have to wiggle some words around a little bit so that you don't feel so bad when later on you get a shit ton of problems. Bombshell vax versus unvax study finally sees the light of day and the results are staggering. Health journalist and film producer just released his film An Inconvenient Study, which follows a years-long exchange with Dr. Marcus Zervos, head of infectious disease at the Henry Ford Health Clinic in Detroit, a doctor who's about as pro-vaccine as they come. So what happened is that he determined that a study comparing the health outcomes of vaccinated and unvaccinated children, the DTP vaccine did protect against diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis, but there was more than a twofold increase in overall mortality. And so, as I am wont to say, you can read this at your leisure on my Rumble page on Rumble at rumble.com and the SHR Media Group. All of these articles will be in there for you to kick back with your favorite beverage and read it in detail, in depth. So, do you remember this? Let me put this up because people are saying, oh, blacks aren't racist. Black males can't be racist. Black females can be racist. DC Judge Kendra Briggs has allowed the two teens who are black, let me point out, because leftists always want to know about race. It is critical to them. So I don't particularly give a shitibus one way or the other, but it's critical to Demorats and leftists. So that's how I craft my response here. So Judge Kendra Briggs, pictured right there, has allowed the two teens who were black, who jumped Edward Corristine to avoid jail, and sentenced them to simple probation, stating that her job is to rehabilitate, not to punish. This was a racist verdict from a racist judge. Now, the simple test, as I've said for any number of years, is, okay, reverse this crap. The white kids would be in prison. Well, that makes equal justice for all, doesn't it? Now, folks, BZ, this is how BZ rocks and rolls. It shouldn't surprise you that I have this coming up here. A female who says black women can't be racist to white women. Don't you get that? Don't you understand that? Go.
Now you can
Black
respond.
Women cannot be racist to white women. Are you kidding me?
Sorry?
That makes no sense.
Sorry? Black women cannot be racist to white women.
Stop. Let me play this over again for those of you who just tuned in or were listening to Nirvana or something else in your ear pods.
Now you can respond. Black women cannot be racist to white women. Are you kidding me?
Sorry?
That makes no sense.
Sorry?
Black women cannot be racist to white women. Do you not understand that?
Oh, yes, they can.
You don't have the intellectual
yes, they
capacity
can.
to understand that.
Oh, yes, they
But that's
can.
very much
And you've been
impossible.
racist to me.
That's very much
You've been
impossible.
racist to me, a white man, by saying I'm a race baiter. Yeah.
How am I racist to you? I'm black. I can't be racist to you.
You called me a race
Are you
baiter
kidding
with
me?
no
You're
evidence.
racist to me.
When have I
You
been a
can be
race?
But see, you need to see this shit. The show is getting longer, so I'm sorry, my poo-poo nasties are starting to come out. In certain lurks, in certain areas, in certain venues, blacks are more racist than whites. Oh, you can't say that, BZ. Well, you don't want to open your eyes. Here are the receipts, as is commonly said these days. Here's a black female who says that, well, blacks can't be racist because we're blacks, said the racist.
Baiter.
You could be racist to me.
When have I been a race baiter?
But I'm a powerhouse.
Tell me when I've been a race baiter.
I'm a powerhouse.
Well, you may be a powerhouse.
Understand something.
This is Riley Gaines on the right who's laughing.
You may be a powerhouse. You may be a powerhouse.
Okay.
When have I been a race baiter?
I want you to admit that.
When have I been a race baiter?
Okay.
When have I been a race baiter?
Okay.
This is absurd.
No, hang on. Tell me.
Honey.
Blossom, give me one example of me.
Honey. So how many people would put this on their shows? There are some people on some shows in some venues that say, BZ, and I've been sent emails, BZ, sometimes you go too far. You must be the racist. They don't listen to the shows. I'm white, so because I'm white, I must be the racist. But I pull no punches. Blacks are racists. Whites are racists. Asians are racists. The Japanese are some of the most ethnocentric people on the planet. The Chinese are some of the most ethnocentric people on the planet. For leftists, that means race favoring. In case you guys just tuned in, consult your Funkin' Wagnalls. But I bring this to you to indicate that this is a happy story because this is how ignorant some people are. I won't be able to get, here's the thing. I had some great stories for Canada Heavy Haul about Canada itself tonight, and I'm not going to be able to get to them. I'm going to wrap up the show with California, always spelled it with a K, Californians Gavin Newsom. Because when you're somebody like Gavin Newsom and you want to get on someone's show, because podcasts, as we're discovering, are so in right now. Well, the Republicans, these people went on podcasts and they actually talked to people and they had conversations. And that's what did it. I know we have to get on podcasts, say Demorats and leftists, except wait a minute. The best way to get on a show like that, this is from New York Post. Gavin Newsom claims he's punching back at son of a bitch Joe Rogan in a vulgar plea to appear on his show. So what part of this makes sense to you if you're not a Democrat or a leftist? Okay, Gavin Newsom wants to be on Joe Rogan's show because Joe Rogan has probably the #1 podcast on the planet, as far as I know. That's as close as I can get. So he thinks that he'll sweet talk his way onto Joe Rogan's show by calling Joe Rogan a son of a bitch in a vulgar plea. Please have me on your show if you would, Joe Rogan, because I have a very convincing manner. I'll cross my legs. Maybe I'll frown at you in order to convince hordes of people that, hey, you need to vote for me. Here's another story. Again, this will be in the show notes. Again, Daily Mail. I find a lot of good stuff on the Daily Mail in UK news because any number of cases. You won't find that stuff here. The smoking gun proof that Gavin Newsom is to blame for the deadly LA fires. So there's a guy named Spencer Pratt, and he thinks he's going to win his lawsuit that he has against the city of Los Angeles following the arrest of that French leftist terrorist that was a nutcase, and he set the Southern California fires. And this guy Spencer Pratt was living in, I think he was in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood. That got torched, and that was gone. So this guy Spencer Pratt, I do not know him, but apparently he's some type of celebrity, and he has some kind of a social media presence, and he's trying to keep the lawsuits in the news. And he's saying his contention is that Governor Newsom and Karen Bass, the LA mayor, were negligent when it came to stopping the fires from spreading. And it said, it was always the main crux of our legal case. Somebody lit the Lackman fire on New Year's Eve. The fire was not properly contained and it rekindled. And that's precisely why Governor Newsom and the mayor and the state are culpable. They allowed a fire to smolder for a week without doing anything to mitigate it. Now, anyone who knows anything about firefighting, or if you've been involved in a fire or around a major fire, you know that if it was significant, the firefighters don't just come and put the wet stuff on the red stuff and then go away. Because depending upon the size of the debris and the fuel involved from the fire triangle, you have to constantly monitor that because you can have reflashes. Fires can re-emerge. But apparently that wasn't done this time. And so these people are saying, this is standard operating procedure for Gavin Newsom and the state of California. Now, I'm going to show you this. My wife, not me, Mrs. BZ, I don't know how she got on this list, but she's on a list to receive texts from California, always spelled it with a K, Demorats. And so this was a text sent to her, and I will read it because the letters are really small, and especially for those people that are listening and they're not watching right now. So this is a text sent to all of Gavin Newsom's minions, and it got sent to her as well. We are legally, there's a point coming. We are legally required to report what we raise, Gavin Newsom. In just a moment, I'm going to ask you to make a well-timed donation to help me pass the Election Rigging Response Act. Please give me a chance to explain why this request, especially today, is so important. Here's the truth. In just a few days, November, okay, we have our final official fundraising deadline of the campaign. When it ends, we're legally required to report just how much we've raised. Everybody's going to be watching, not just here, but Republicans in other states who want to see Democrats' enthusiasm to stop Trump from rigging maps in more states. This is raising money for California. I'll spell it with K. Prop 50. If we report a big number, they'll know Americans are deeply opposed to their efforts to rig the next election. Plus, every donation will help us win our race in California. God help us if we lose here and Republicans redistrict everywhere. We may have enjoyed our last free and fair election. So please, if we're going to persuade and turn out the voters we need to win, then I need you now. If you can, make one last contribution here. Here's what you can't see. There's a link in here. And would any of you be shocked? But here's the evidence that BZ provides. This is why you watch and listen to the show live and later on in podcast. Where does this go? Where do the donations for Governor Newsom go? Well, if you can't see this, let me educate you. They go to secure.actblue.com. The donations are going to Act Blue. Of course, naturally, you are not shocked, are you? I have one more that I wish I could embiggen this and splash this all over the screen. This is a story from Mediaite, which has one of the most ridiculously, stupid names that you can think of for a website. Whoever thought that, media, you can't even really say it well. Mediaite. What the hell? So here's Mediaite. And then this is Gavin Newsom. And if you would, please count how many times Gavin Newsom says the word interesting. Why does he say the word interesting? Because he's caught. He's hoisted on the petard of his own creation, where essentially the people that are interviewing this, this is a podcast or a live podcast. It's on video from a place or some show called Higher Learning. And one of the hosts is this dude named Van Lathan. And he interviewed Gavin Newsom last week. And so he says the guest to Gavin Newsom. I'm sunsetting, folks. Okay, it's late. The host says, AIPAC, I will not vote for a candidate that takes $1 from AIPAC. The people that kind of support Jews. And then confronted with this, I speak leftist, so I'll translate. This is a leftist saying, I perceive you to be insufficiently left for the left. And if AIPAC contributed any money to you, which they did to Gavin Newsom, I will not be voting for you. Now, this is as big as I'll be able to make it. I couldn't figure out how to put this someplace else. So you're going to see it, but yeah, listen to this. Let me crank it up all the way. I hope the volume is acceptable. Listen to what Gavin says. Count the number of hubcaps that fall off the 1968 Charger in the 1968 movie Bullet with Steve McQueen. How many hubcaps fall off the 1968 Dodge Charger in the pursuit scene? The answer is 7. So how many times in this interview does Gavin Newsom say the word interesting? Okay, count the hubcaps.
I will not vote for a candidate that takes $1 from AIPAC.
It's interesting. I mean, it's interesting. I haven't thought about AIPAC. And it's interesting. You're like the first to bring up AIPAC in years, which is interesting. Why did I say that? Not relevant to my day-to-day life.
Okay.
Which is just interesting.
Listen,
it's interesting you say that. JPAC perhaps more, but AIPAC less and less.
Okay, fair enough.
Which is just interesting.
What's interesting about it?
That it's just interesting as you bring up AIPAC that it hasn't been part of. I'm just reflecting quite openly and honestly. Hasn't been part of the day-to-day.
This is one of the few times where I have seen and heard Governor Gavin Newsom. He's caught with his fly down and his pants down. And he didn't expect that he expected a softball interview. And then it was revealed later on that he's perceived to be not left enough. And so I'm not voting for you. Worse yet, that's a black guy who is telling Gavin Newsom, I'm not voting for you. How many interestings did you count? I'm going to let that be up to you. Let's catch up to comments. Then we're going to wrap this crap up. What do you think? I was listening to Rednecks. It's that kind of night. BZ, you're better than Rogan. That shit's not funny, okay? Stop laughing. Phantom says, too many times, I bet. And the Phantom said, yeah, I count 7. Isn't that interesting? Well, let's see. What more do I have up here? Anything? Oh, yeah. It's I have no time to cover this tonight because I know you guys want to get to your weekend. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, early and frequently, this is my last show of the week. Thursday night shows are the last. So I hope you guys have a great Friday tomorrow. We're going to take our little doggy back into the vet. And we're going to give him more fluids. Every day we've been giving him an IV drip. And it makes me cringe to think that we have to take this big needle and jam it into the back of the neck of this poor lad, Jake. It hurts me to hurt him. Sometime next week, and Sean Lewis on Edge of Liberty has addressed this any number of times, but Assembly Bill 495 in California was just signed by Gavin Newsom, basically relegating the government as, well, they own your children. And this is going to create a host of problems. So many problems and so many issues that Sean has addressed. I was thinking about trying to get him on the show tonight, and I thought, no, with all the rest of the stuff that's going on, I just don't have the time, but maybe Sean can address that in depth on Monday, or not. He's already addressed it. Or maybe I can get him back on the show on Tuesday and have him go into great detail. Because if there's somebody that can explain this incredibly well, I determined and sussed out that it was Sean Lewis, because he has kids in the state of California, and it affects he and his family and his kids directly. So he's probably the best person to be able to figure out how and where that goes. And so I believe that probably I've had some good viewing, some good numbers on the show. I will say it again. I don't do this show for money. I do it for shits and giggles and grins. And I attempt, at least in some meager fashion, to attempt to put sort of an upwards crease occasionally on your pie hole. And if I had tonight, then as far as I'm concerned, that's a plus for me. Thanks for the suggestions. As per normal, unless I kick the can and cack over the weekend. Are you to the point? Have you ever been to the point where you're good with that? In terms of all the stupid things that are going on, all the crazy things that I've done over the years, I am okay with either dying for a cause or dying tomorrow, because I've done crazy, stupid shit that nobody ever has done before. And if I go, it's like one of the things that Rick Robinson and I talked about directly after the passing of Charlie Kirk. And I still agonize over this. And I know Rick does too. He doesn't want to admit it, but probably a lot of people do. Have you not in the past asked yourself, following the assassination of Charlie Kirk, what the hell? Why him? A great guy like him. He goes, I'm still here. I'm still struggling with that. It's a conundrum that we're all going to have to face. It's still, there's still so much more to sift out through Charlie Kirk. But I think he made a bunch of us focus like a laser beam. Well, since I'm bringing this up, let me go over here. I had some happy story stuff. Oh, that's the Canada stuff. Let me see if I can get to this and find it. Damn it. Okay, now I can't find it up in my tab. So I'll talk about this. There's some positive signs with regard to religion in the United States. Things that I certainly had not seen coming at all. And next Tuesday, I'll probably tell you about them. And sooner or later for Canada Heavy Haul, I got to tell you how Canada is a mired, atrocious piece of cesspool-ridden crap. Canada is falling down the tubes, almost but not quite as bad as the UK right now. That having been said, I conclude this show. I say from my official Demorat Crying Baby mug, because the theme of the show tonight was Demorats Uncork on Demorats. So you didn't see the BZKC 135 mug. You saw the Crying Baby Demorat mug. God, would you? I don't love Ricky Robinson. Get that banner off there. Thank you for, by the way, Rick. Thank you for simulcasting the show. And to all the other people that are on KLRN right now, watching live, thanks for watching through KLRN. And then I will put this show up as a podcast later, maybe after midnight, definitely by tomorrow. I'll put it up through Rumble, and I'll also put up so you people can see the podcast in either Rumble and or YouTube. And just remember, if you want to find out, hey, that thing that BZ spoke about, where can I? On Rumble. Okay. On Rumble. By the way, for those of you who just stepped into the show, this is where I say, you're late and you missed it all. Good God. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct, right here on the SHR Media Network, on KLRN, on all the podcatchers, anywhere and everywhere, up, down, north, east, west, south. What am I going to say next? You know, promotional consideration by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, by Shure and Electro Voice microphones, by, at least temporarily, until Jeremy Hansen helps me, my Arrakis Arctalk Blue Board, and also the Pratt & Whitney Dependable Engine Company. What do they produce? Come on, sing it and shout it out loud, folks. They produce thrust. You can trust. And as per normal, tiaras are by My Little Pony. Tiara. Wonderful. Thanks to no guests tonight. Thanks to me for being fat and obtuse. Also, thanks to my personal KC 135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I shall be consorting in less than 10 minutes. Remember the words of Vlad the Impaler. True then. True now. So, it's TTFN.
Quiet down now, get some sleep.
Ta-ta for now.
Good night, Mama. Night, Ben. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Tim Bob. Good night, Tim Bob.
Good night, Tim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night, Tim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.
Sometimes I get the mouth parts right, and I speak along with them, and sometimes I don't. Let's wrap up the show for this weekend by putting a few more comments up. Hey, BZ, if you had a producer, aren't you ending the show? Yeah, the show has officially ended. Don't tell anybody that the show has officially ended. Good night, Ed. And good night, Jake. Everybody, God bless, take care, and be safe. Jake will win at life. God, the comments are still coming. What the hair? What the hair? Fred, the seeing eye chameleon. Folks, that's it. Good night. Go away. Go to bed. The hell is wrong with you? Drink heavily before you go to bed, though. Ciao.